everybody, Mature Simmer here. So welcome back to this week's VFR series. So we're on leg 42. We're here over in Africa. Just going to go ahead and just start getting some stuff turned on, get the fuel selector set, get the radios going. All right, bleed to auto. Everything else here to on. 50 degrees. Goodness. It's chilly today. EFIS master. Get ourselves set to our 2500. And we'll adjust if necessary. Get our pitos on. All right, and then we want to get our propeller up. And we want to get the starter on, ignition on. And, whoops, just waiting for about 13. There we go. Get ourselves to low idle. Shouldn't redline. That's what we're trying to avoid. Okay. All right, so it's dropping down. When it gets to 50, get ourselves to high. And we should be good there. All right. So now we can turn off the starter, ignition. We'll get some of the lights on. At this point, we can turn on the autopilot. Get that set. And yeah, we're at 55, so everything's running there. Again, just take a quick peek, make sure we didn't screw anything up. Go to the flight plan, import. Should be very quick because all we have is point to point here. So nothing much to show. We're literally flying a straight line between Nismalin and our destination at 118 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set to GPS, which will do that. Auxiliary, we need that over there. Okay. So we're good. Again, there were some hills around. We've got Ethiopian Airlines next to us there. It's supposed to be small GA, but hey, whatever they want to put here. And then we can just take off on that runway there. So let me get ourselves set. Yaoundé Tower, November 191 Mike Alpha, requesting VFR at 2500.
November 1 Mike Alpha, VFR approved. Climb 2500.
VFR approved, climb 2500, November 191 Mike Alpha. Alright, so now we'll have tracking in SayIntentions. And because we're not really going anywhere, I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to cover the narrative that they have. We're going to be going through Cameroon, Republic of the Congo, and Democratic Republic of the Congo. So head southeast from Yaoundé across the heart of the African jungle. This is the part of Africa where Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan of the Apes had his various adventures. Your destination is Mbdanaka, a small city in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. just a couple of miles north of the equator. The history of the DRC is complex, being previously known as the Belgian Congo until 1960, and then Zaire, when it was ruled by US-backed dictator Joseph Mobutu. It became the DRC when Mobutu was deposed in 1997. A few miles short of Mbdanaka, you should pass a total of 21,639 nautical miles flown on this journey. That's enough to have flown completely around the world at the equator if we were going in a straight line, which we most definitely are not. Still, it might be worth a minor celebration after landing. So as we've talked about, this series is between 4 and 5 times. It might actually be closer to 5 or 6 times, because I was using 25,000 as my basis, because that's what I had in my head. But if it's only 21, we're going like 115,000. So it's really between 5 and 6 times around the Earth, which is a little crazy. But in any event, we are now good to go here. So we shall head on out. Assuming that we can. There we go. So we'll turn this way since there's someone there. And we don't want it too crazy. We're going to want our flaps down. And we're basically heading out here to the runway. This is almost like an exit the other way, but that's okay. Actually, we might want to head up that way, so that's probably all right. There might be someone coming in, landing on top of us as we're taxiing down the runway, because sometimes SayIntentions is doing its thing, and that's what happens. Alright, well, we better be careful or we're going to end up taking off.
On runway.
Without even wanting to.
6,600 feet. On runway. 1 remaining. 6,000 feet.
Alright. So, I'm not going to call in to Sarah to load any tour up because there are no waypoints. So we're just going to let her share, and basically this flight is going to be just a visual flight for you to enjoy the scenery and us to move from point A to point B, because there isn't anything else to do. Well, I guess we might have been able to taxi down here, look at that. But anyway, we will slowly turn around here for the turnaround pad. And we will get airborne. Okay, well, we turned a little wide. I tried. All right. So now we are going to move along here.
On runway. 19 remaining. 10,700 feet.
Plenty long. We jumped from like 60 to 75. That was an interesting airspeed indicator note. But let's pull up. We'll get there. We'll arm this. Whoops, we're going way too high. We'll do yaw damper, autopilot, and again, arm.
Approaching runway 19. Caution, caution.
November 1, Mike Alpha. You are not cleared to take off. Advise when ready to copy a phone number for possible pilot deviation.
Ready to copy phone number, November 191 Mike Alpha. Oops. All right, why? Okay. Sometimes the sequence just doesn't work. But we are now heading on track. We're already basically on where we need to be. We'll go here, pull up, pull up terrain, zoom out so that we can see a good distance, and you can see, like behind us, we have some mountains back there. There's the airport just kind of fading away. Just look where the trees aren't. But anyway, we'll get our wheels up, we'll get our flaps up. That will help accelerate, because I did that last time, and oh, so much for okay. So let's try to get ourselves to 2,500. I'm not sure what happened. In general, maybe we were already like past it before we really did anything. Alright, so we'll just make sure it catches. Alright, we're gonna back this off, pull ourselves forward, and then that will help us go a little quicker here. Again, trying to get close to the red line. We might want to, let me see. Let me go to 3,500. And we'll go, yeah, because we're only 500 feet above. So we definitely don't want to be doing that. So let's do this. It did beep. So in theory, like we have flight director, autopilot, like everything's on. We'll see if it locks itself in. Maybe we'll climb a little quicker. Then hopefully it will all work and we'll be good. And again, Sarah's around, so she may or may not say things, I don't know. Alright, we are slowing down, which is what we'd want as we're getting closer. Because we only have 100 feet to go, so it's going to try to manage that a little better. So I feel more comfortable that we will settle in here at 3,500. And yes, things are green, which means we're within 1,500 feet of the ground, but that's okay as long as it stays relatively flat. And I think it will. Although I think in general, it looks like it does go up a bit, so we will have to keep an eye out. Because, yeah, otherwise, you never know what'll happen. But we are locked in at this point. 446 nautical miles. I will definitely make sure that everything's working. It looks like it is. And then, yeah, we will just let you enjoy the view out the window, and I will be back as we get ready for approach and landing again. Obviously, I'll be checking things here and there.
Let me tell you about Yaoundé, the capital city of Cameroon. Yaoundé was founded in 1888 by German explorers as a base for ivory trading and has grown into the country's second largest city. It's known for its lush, hilly landscape. So from up here, you might notice how green and undulating the terrain is. The city is home to the impressive National Museum, which is housed in the former presidential palace and the striking Notre Dame des Victoires Cathedral. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let's talk about Sangmalima Airport, which is the closest airstrip to us. Sangmalima Airport is a small regional airport serving the town of Sangmalima in southern Cameroon. It was built to help connect this remote region with the rest of the country, especially since the area is surrounded by dense rainforest, perfect for anyone who loves a good game of spot the tree from 3,000 feet. While it doesn't see much commercial traffic, it's a vital hub for local travel and occasional cargo flights. The airport's simple layout and single runway make it a classic example of rural African airstrips, often used by bush pilots and adventurous aviators. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let's talk about the closest city, Sangmalima. Sangmalima is a small town in southern Cameroon, nestled right on the edge of the vast Dija Faunal Reserve, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The town itself was established as a colonial administrative post in the early 20th century, and it's known for its proximity to some of the most biodiverse rainforests in Africa. Adventurous travelers and researchers often use Sangmalima as a jumping-off point for expeditions into the surrounding wilderness. The area is also famous for its traditional Bulu culture, and if you listen closely, you might even hear stories about local legends and forest spirits. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let's talk about Djoum, the closest town to our current position. Djoum is a small town in southern Cameroon surrounded by dense rainforest and known for its proximity to the Gia Faunal Reserve, a UNESCO World Heritage Site famous for its incredible biodiversity. The town itself has served as a gateway for researchers and adventurers heading into the wilds of Cameroon. Djoum Airport, which we passed not too long ago, is a modest airstrip that plays a crucial role in connecting this remote area to the rest of the country. The region is also home to the Baka people, who are renowned for their deep knowledge of the forest and traditional music that sometimes echoes through the trees. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let's talk about the DJA Faunal Reserve, which is not too far from our current location. The DJA Faunal Reserve is one of Africa's largest and best protected rainforests, and it's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Established in 1950, this reserve is home to over 100 mammal species, including gorillas, chimpanzees, and forest elephants. The Dija River forms a natural boundary around much of the reserve, making it look like a giant green island from above. Researchers and wildlife enthusiasts from all over the world come here, hoping to catch a glimpse of rare animals and study the unique ecosystem. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the closest city, Mintom. Mintom is a small town nestled in the rainforests of southern Cameroon, and it's known as a gateway to some of the most untouched wilderness in the country. The area around Mintom is famous for its dense forests and winding rivers, which are part of the Congo Basin, one of the world's largest and most important rainforest ecosystems. Adventurers and scientists alike are drawn here to study rare plants and animals, and the region is home to several traditional communities who have lived in harmony with the forest for generations. If you squint, you might just spot the shimmering surface of the Nyong River, which snakes its way through the landscape and provides a lifeline for both wildlife and people. Let's talk about the closest airport to us, Sowanke Airport. This small airstrip serves the remote town of Sowanke in the Republic of the Congo, built to connect this forested region to the rest of the country. It's a classic example of rural aviation infrastructure. Think of it as the local bus stop, but for planes. The airport is mostly used for small aircraft and occasional cargo flights, especially since the area is surrounded by dense rainforest. Pilots flying in and out of Sowanke often get a spectacular view of the endless green canopy, and on a clear day, you might spot the Sangha River winding its way through the landscape. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the closest town, Sembe. Sembe is a small town nestled in the forests of Northern Republic of the Congo. It's surrounded by dense rainforest, and the area is known for its incredible biodiversity. If you look out the window, you might just spot endless green stretching as far as the eye can see. The town itself was established as a trading post during colonial times, serving as a hub for local communities. Adventurous travelers and researchers sometimes pass through Sembe on their way to explore the untouched wilderness of the Congo Basin. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the closest town, Sembe. Sembe is a small town nestled in the forests of Northern Republic of the Congo. It's surrounded by dense rainforest, and the area is known for its incredible biodiversity. If you look out the window, you might just spot endless green stretching as far as the eye can see. The town itself was established as a trading post during colonial times, serving as a hub for local communities. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the closest river, the Sangha River. This mighty river is one of the major tributaries of the Congo River and snakes its way through the dense rainforests of Central Africa. It's a lifeline for local communities, providing transportation, fishing, and even a bit of drama. Legend has it that explorers in the early 20th century would race steamboats down these waters, dodging hippos and the occasional crocodile. The Sangha River is also a hotspot for biodiversity, with scientists flocking here to study everything from rare birds to elusive forest elephants. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the closest town, Sembe. Sembe is a small town nestled in the forests of Northern Republic of the Congo. It's surrounded by dense rainforest, and the area is known for its incredible biodiversity. If you look out the window, you might just spot endless green stretching as far as the eye can see. The town itself was established as a trading post during colonial times, serving as a hub for local communities. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the closest airport, Ouesso Airport. Ouesso Airport serves the town of Ouesso in the Republic of the Congo, right on the edge of the Sangha River. The airport was built to help connect this remote region to the rest of the country, especially since the area is surrounded by dense rainforest. It features a single runway and is mainly used for small aircraft and occasional cargo flights. Pilots flying in and out of Ouesso get a spectacular view of the endless green canopy, and on a clear day, you might even spot the Sangha River winding its way through the landscape. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the Sangha River. This mighty river is one of the major tributaries of the Congo River and snakes its way through the dense rainforests of Central Africa. It's a lifeline for local communities, providing transportation, fishing, and even a bit of drama. Legend has it that explorers in the early 20th century would race steamboats down these waters, dodging hippos and the occasional crocodile. The Sangha River is also a hotspot for biodiversity, with scientists flocking here to study everything from rare birds to elusive forest elephants. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the town of Oeso, which is the closest municipality to us. Oeso sits right on the banks of the Sangha River and is known as a gateway to the vast rainforests of Northern Republic of the Congo. The town was established during the colonial era as a trading post and has grown into a hub for river transport and logging. Adventurers and scientists often pass through Oeso on their way to explore the nearby Nuabale-Ndoki National Park, which is famous for its population of forest elephants and lowland gorillas. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the town of Oeso, which is the closest municipality to us. Oeso sits right on the banks of the Sangha River and is known as a gateway to the vast rainforests of Northern Republic of the Congo. The town was established during the colonial era as a trading post and has grown into a hub for river transport and logging. Adventurers and scientists often pass through Oeso on their way to explore the nearby Nuabale Ndoki National Park, which is famous for its population of forest elephants and lowland gorillas. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the town of Oeso, which is the closest municipality to us. Oeso sits right on the banks of the Sangha River and is known as a gateway to the vast rainforests of Northern Republic of the Congo. The town was established during the colonial era as a trading post and has grown into a hub for river transport and logging. Adventurers and scientists often pass through Oweso on their way to explore the nearby Nuabale-Ndoki National Park, which is famous for its population of forest elephants and lowland gorillas. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the closest municipality, Picunda. Picunda is a small settlement nestled deep in the northern forests of the Republic of the Congo. It's right along the Sangha River, which has been a vital transportation route for centuries. Think of it as the rainforest version of a highway, only with more crocodiles and fewer traffic jams. Picunda has traditionally been a stopover point for river traders and explorers venturing into the heart of Central Africa. The area is surrounded by dense jungle, and from the air, you can really appreciate just how remote and untouched this part of the world is. Let's talk about the closest municipality, Picunda. Picunda is a small settlement nestled deep in the northern forests of the Republic of the Congo. It's right along the Sangha River, which has been a vital transportation route for centuries. Think of it as the rainforest's version of a highway, only with more crocodiles and fewer traffic jams. Picunda has traditionally been a stopover point for river traders and explorers venturing into the heart of Central Africa. The area is surrounded by dense jungle, and from the air, you can really appreciate just how remote and untouched this part of the world is. Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the closest city, Mbdanaka. Mbdanaka is a fascinating place, sitting right on the equator and hugging the banks of the mighty Congo River. It was founded in 1883 by the famous explorer Henry Morton Stanley, who named it after a local chief. The city has long been a hub for river transport, with boats coming and going like it's rush hour on water, minus the honking. Mbdanaka is also known for its botanical gardens, which were established in the colonial era and are still home to some rare plant species.
Okay, so that is the city we are coming up upon and where we're going to be landing. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's see, the runways look to go. There's a 1.8 and a 3.6 that are not quite vertical. So yeah, as we get closer, we'll swing out a little bit and we'll come in over the river. That is the Congo. So one of the more well-known rivers in Africa. Obviously, several rivers that we've passed over. Those all do eventually feed into and contribute to it. But we're going to cross one other river first, and probably when we do that, we will also change our bearing. So I'm going to go ahead and get our heading bug over, and we'll set that and we'll turn it off. And that next river is also the border of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So when we hit that, we will be entering our final country. So, but, we got 53 miles, so it is going to be a little bit still. But you can see the terrain has dropped down. Probably what we can do, just again to prepare ourselves, is start descending to 2,500, start getting closer. Because otherwise we'll be trying to line up and coming in from a much steeper angle. But, the few things I heard Sarah talk about just were a lot of towns that were jumping off points to head off into the jungle. So just a lot of jungle down here. It kind of, I don't know that it looks jungly. It's like the trees are kind of the trees in, unless you have pine trees or evergreens. I don't know that we're seeing, what I would call tropical, which would be more like palms and ferns, and I'm not seeing that there. All right, so we are still, as we're getting close to 2,800 feet, nothing is coming in as green, which means we're not within 1,500 feet yet. So I may lower myself down to 2,000 and try that, but let's see. I mean, we are starting to see a few things bloom up here. So, okay, yeah, this might actually be okay, because now in the last 100 feet, suddenly everything is starting to come in. So we're close between 1,500 and 2,000 feet, probably. So yeah, we'll leave it here. So that's much better, because at least now we know we're getting close. But 44, basically 45 miles to go. I think that's the river, the border that we're looking at. It's probably still 10 to 15 miles away.
Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the Congo River, which is not far from our current position. The Congo River is the second longest river in Africa, stretching over 2,900 miles, and it's famous for its powerful currents and deep waters. Some sections are over 700 feet deep. The river has been a crucial transportation route for centuries, with explorers like Henry Morton Stanley navigating its twists and turns in the late 1800s. It's also home to unique wildlife, including the elusive Congo River turtle and the Goliath tigerfish, which sounds like something out of a fishing horror story.
So I will say, I certainly did not know the depth. That is crazy that you have a river that is 700 feet deep. I mean, because if you think about it, it's not like a lake where you've, you know, or obviously an ocean where you've got water kind of present and staying there. In theory, a river is constantly moving, and so the volume of water you'd need to maintain 700 feet deep, and again, maybe that's at the end. I don't know where that is, but that is crazy. I mean, you think of most rivers being in the tens of feet deep. I mean, I don't know that most rivers even get to 100 feet. So 700 feet just seems crazy. But that's why it's fun to learn. All right, so yes, here comes... This is not the Congo. This is the Ubangi, I believe. It looks like... Or Ubingi? It might be UBI. But anyway, it is the border of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I assume the Congo on the other side? I don't know. So I'm trying to figure out these patchy areas. We flew over some early on, and it's like, are they sand? I mean, we are here at the equator, basically. So, it's definitely interesting. Alright, so at this point, because we know it's 180, I'm going to head to like 2... Or, I'm sorry, we're going to head to 90. So that's 93, there we go. So we'll start to make that turn. And this is probably half as wide as the Congo. So we're kind of basically going to go over the Congo. It looks like there's a piece of it that breaks off that we might hit first, and then we're going to hit the main river course. But yeah, I mean, definitely as it said in the write-up, you know, Edgar Burroughs wrote about, you know, Tarzan kind of in this area and all the explorers that came through the Congo and things like that. But, you know, this is where they were at. And, you know, they're dealing with rivers like this, which are pretty cool. Alright, so we probably, I mean, again, it's 28 miles to the airport, so we're never really going to get quite there. So, you know, I'm thinking we're going to be between 10 to 15 miles away when we're basically trying to start to then head in, so we're probably only going to lose maybe half of this. But we'll see how that all plays out. But we have a good 15 miles to go to get to the Congo River itself. So quite a bit of jungle in between. Right, everything's still green. And you can see, you know, it is on the Congo River, the city. So, and it flows basically this way, I believe. I think it comes from the north and heads south. So, basically that bend in theory, it could erode away and, you know, from the force of the water, depending on how quickly it's moving, but it's just slowly traversing. Might not be that bad. I'm assuming this is the river. So we're seeing it there. What have we got here? Oh, because it's just telling me to fix things, but that's okay.
Since there are no specific points of interest nearby, let me tell you about the Congo River, which is not far from our current position. The Congo River is the second longest river in Africa, stretching over 2,900 miles, and it's famous for its powerful currents and deep waters. Some sections are over 700 feet deep. The river has been a crucial transportation route for centuries, with explorers like Henry Morton Stanley navigating its twists and turns in the late 1800s. It's also home to unique wildlife, including the elusive Congo River turtle and the Goliath tigerfish, which sounds like something out of a fishing horror story.
All right, so I'm trying to see where this 700 is. So it says it's basically south of Kinshasa, which is where? Doesn't really... Okay, so it's south of here, but it isn't totally near, you know, it's not near the coast. I mean, it's a good ways in. And that is where there's a pool, the Molebo Pool. So it is kind of a lake, I guess, that it made. And so Brazzaville and Kinshasa. So we may end up going there in the next leg or something. So it'll be interesting, you know, how things play out. But we're getting close here where we're going to want to turn. And, you know, we're not really following the river because the river will go off to the right side of us. But we're going to obviously start to turn now. You do see the fuel low light. I didn't fill my tanks like I normally do. I should be fine. We've got some space. We're down to 17 miles. Again, you know, we're probably not going to get much closer than that at this point because it's, you know, we're kind of starting to come up on the circle that would extend from the airport. So, you know, maybe we'll get down to 16 miles by the time we hit the river. But you can see there's like this one stream here, like there is a good size break in between on the map, even with my scale being basically an inch being 5 nautical miles. It's probably a good inch in, you know, a little south of here, because this basically kind of opens up and the river goes around it. But this is the mighty Congo. So finally we get to see it. Feels like if I start turning, it's a bit early, so I'm going to keep going. Oh, we're down below 16. I'm surprised. But we are definitely ticking away really slow. Alright, I'm still going to keep moving here. Alright, so I think we're going to start turning to, say, 170, maybe? We'll try that. We'll see how this all plays out. But yeah, a lot of island, you know, just rivers divided up with a lot of things. Alright, so I think I've gone a little too far, so we're going to keep turning. We'll make it about 189, and we'll try to start lining up a bit. If I could see where the airport was, that would obviously help. Alright, so now both tanks are low. Left and right. Alright, and now get ourselves back to 180. And that should bring us down, and like I said, we're really on a little bit of a course. Alright, let me try that, see if that lines me up a little bit better. I mean, again, we're 10 miles away, so I am
Since
gonna
there are no specific points of interest nearby,
pop this down.
let me tell you
That'll
about
slow
the
us
Equator,
down,
which is
I
just a few
think.
miles north of us. The Equator is an
Oh, north
imaginary
of
line
us.
that divides the Earth into the northern and southern hemispheres, and flying over it is a bit like crossing an invisible finish line. No medals, but plenty of bragging rights. Explorers and aviators have long been fascinated by this line, and in some places, you'll even find monuments marking the exact spot. In Mbdanaka, there's actually a monument right on the Equator, built by Belgian colonists in the early 20th century.
Alright, so we're gonna get ourselves down. We're gonna put the wheels out, since I always tend to forget, and that'll give us a good amount of drag. So we're down to 190. I think we're a little to the left, but shouldn't be too bad. But we're now yellow, so we're within 1,000 feet. And we're probably going to start getting to red. Yeah, a little bit of red starting to show up. We've got 200 feet to go. But yeah, I'm thinking that is my target, but I don't know for sure. Looks like I should go a little bit that way. If it is, just following the map. Alright, so again, we're trying to slow down a bit more. Get closer to there where we have the flaps, but yeah, that's definitely the runway. A little over 3 miles away right now. We'll get the landing rate monitor up. That'll just help us be able to tell a little cleaner. Alright, we're going to lower our first set of flaps. That should give us a little bit of drag. Alright, and now we want to just turn a couple degrees. Alright, last set of flaps. That'll give us full flaps. Basically lined up. We'll come off autopilot. And we'll start bringing ourselves in here. That's 4 degrees. We don't want to go that far. So, 1.5 miles. Don't know that I see any pappy lights. Alright, we're still going 100, which is a good bit, but yeah, there's definitely no pappy lights. Alright, 40 feet. Start slowing down. I think we bounced. Not bad, though. Because, like, we heard the wheels, and then we didn't. Alright. But we made it without running out of fuel. So yeah, I realized about 5 minutes after I took off, and I'm like, well, it's only 400 some miles. I shouldn't, I won't need a full tank because the plane can go 800-900, maybe even 1,000 miles in some cases. So I'm like,
approaching runway 36.
But just get ourselves here. Shut the engine off, or, shut everything off there. Get the flaps up. And we'll head to, let's see, there's no ground. There's a tower. So we'll just report that we're here. Mbdanaka Tower, November 191 Mike Alpha, is parked after landing on runway 18.
November 191 Mike Alpha, Mbdanaka Tower, taxi as requested, stay parking. November 1 Mike Alpha, taxi to terminal. Stand 1 at your discretion, monitor this frequency.
Stand 1 at my discretion, November 191 Mike Alpha. Thank you. All right. So we will get this done. Get the cutoff. And we're all set. So again, like normal, kind of deciduous looking trees. I don't know that we've got, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's like a palm here and there. So, I don't know, maybe. I've obviously never been. It is a bucket list item to get to Africa and maybe do a safari tour or something. It would be kind of cool to just see it in person. But for now, we see it in Flight Simulator. So, as we've seen, there's a lot of things in Africa that are just like we're just covering it. And we're really, if we didn't have SayIntentions, there wouldn't be much. So happy to have that able to give us some information. Hopefully you're enjoying it. If you have not liked or subscribed, please consider that, and I will see you next time.